Let's move on to news around the East African region. In Tanzania, authorities have clarified there has been no Ebola case in the country. This followed fears after a doctor said to have been studying in Uganda had succumbed to Ebola. There were also two other cases, one from Mwanza and the other from Dar es Salaam, suspected of being infected with the deadly virus. But the Minister of Health, Wumi Mwalimu, revealed that the tests for Ebola were done and found negative. Following the rampaging Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo from mid last year, neighboring countries are on high alert. In Kenya, the Friday drama is still the talk of Makueni County when police arrested 6 beggars. What dramatized the arrest was upon seeing police arrive with the beggars, who all were in wheelchairs, got up and attempted to escape arrest. One jumped on a boda and was carted away. The 6 arrested included 4 women carrying babies. It is reported every morning they were from Tanzania. Now every morning they posed as disabled and in desperate need for assistance. They would arrive in town to beg. Police is keeping them in custody as investigations continue. Closing off news around East Africa is a story from Southeast Sudan. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said the ceasefire between South Sudan government forces and the SPLM in opposition is holding firm. The UN boss's statement comes at a time when other rebel forces in Southeast Sudan are threatening to escalate the conflict if they are not accommodated in the peace deal. Guterres also underscored government forces and SPLM in opposition efforts to contain the rebels, especially those of the National Salvation Front, led by General Thomas Cirillo. He also accused NAS for recruiting across borders in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, from the East African region, but still on the continent, Algeria is to hold a presidential election on December 12th, 5 months into a political vacuum since longtime leader Abdelaziz Bouteflika resigned in the face of mass protests his interim successor announced. This announcement comes after Army Chief General Ahmed Gaïd Salah, seen as Algeria's strongman since the fall of the ailing Bouteflika, insisted that polls be held by the end of 2019. Despite ongoing protests demanding the creation of new institutions ahead of any elections. On Friday, Algerian protesters returned to the streets after Parliament passed bills paving the way for the announcement of elections. In Tunisia, political outsider Kais Saied was leading Tunisia's election with just over a quarter of votes counted. The Election Commission said Monday in the country's second free presidential vote since the Arab Spring. Saied was on 19%, leading imprisoned media magnate Nabil Karoul, who was on 14.9%, and ahead of the candidate from the Islamic-inspired Ennahda party, Abdel Fattah Mawour, with 13.1%. The announcement came after both Saied and Karoui's camp claimed to have won through the second round in a highly divisive poll. Indonesia has arrested nearly 200 people over vast forest fires ripping across the archipelago, police said on Monday, as toxic haze sends air quality levels plummeting and sparks flight cancellations. Jakarta has deployed thousands of personnel to battle blazes that are turning land into charred landscapes and consuming forests in Sumatra and Borneo Islands, where thousands of schools have been shut over health fears. Closing off news around the world is a story from the United States. President Donald Trump on Monday promised to supply oil to U.S. allies after attacks on Saudi oil infrastructure that Washington has blamed on Iran. This comes after weekend drone strikes on 2 major oil facilities in Saudi Arabia, which slashed the country's oil production by half and led both the kingdom and the United States to announce they may tap into other strategic reserves. Tehran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, where a Saudi-led coalition is bogged down in a 5-year war, have claimed responsibility. That is it for the news around the world. We now take a short break, but when we come back, we'll take a look at news in business.